All right, here we go again. Oh, we're here. What's up, man?
Not much, Blake, man. It's just life. Just life is going. And I think
Hmm.
this is going to be a good conversation. I really do.
Yeah. So here we go again. I convinced Bo to come back for a part five.
You
I've got
didn't
my buddy here.
you didn't
What's
have to
up?
convince me at all. This is going to be fun. And I appreciate the forum. I really do.
Yeah. So recently on the podcast, we've been talking a lot more hitting and more in depth. And I've known that you have this, you've been a hitting coach. You've got your own hitting business going there. Before we get there, though, well, I thought it'd be great to bring you in and join in all the fun because I really love talking hitting. So, but before we get too further into what we're talking about here, I gotta do a little rundown of Bo Hart and what we've already done before we get going. So, if you guys missed it about a year ago, it was really kind of cool how it all synced up. But I ended up talking Bo to come on to the podcast and deep dive into his journey through the game and what he went through and his, special record-breaking moment with the Cardinals. So a little bit of his background: 1995 SoCal high school grad, 1997 Cabrillo College. He was a Gonzaga for 2 years, 33rd round pick of the Cardinals in 1999. 10-year pro career, had that magical stint up with the Cardinals, parts of 2 years up at the big club. Also with the Rockies, Orioles, Cubs, 2 years in Indy ball with Lancaster and the KC Teambows, also the Schaumburg Flyers. Um, and then in 2003, he had that tied 102-year-old MLB record with 28 hits in his first 15 games and broke an MLB record for the highest batting average through the first 10 games, previously held by Kirby Puckett, one of the greatest call-ups of all time. Um, I went bananas, talking to all those people. I had I put so much effort into the Bohart story, trying to track down all these guys, and it was incredible too. So I got to talk to like Kerry Robinson, former big leaguer, current Cardinal scout, Joe Patini, former big leaguer, bench coach for the Cards, Mark DeJean, DJ, former major leaguer, minor league manager in Double A, major league coach on Tony La Russa's staff, field coordinator, Steve Bye Bye Balboni, the classic '80s power hitter, former major league player, hitting coach, scout, Danny Schaefer, former major leaguer, minor league coach, manager in Triple A, Steve Hertz, former pro baseball player in the Twins organization, longtime Gonzaga skipper for close to 25 years, and had the greatest quote of all time, referring to, you know what I'm talking about? He celebrates the game. Is that the greatest
It's
way
probably
you've
the
ever
best
heard
compliment
someone
I've ever.
describe how you play, right?
Probably the best compliment I've ever gotten. Yeah.
Where did he come up with that? Has he ever said that to you before? Before that?
Yeah, a couple times. I don't want to say directly to me or anything, I don't think, but in some of the other interviews that he's given about me and how I played and at Gonzaga and beyond. I mean, yeah, it's really the best
What a
compliment.
great man. That's just the ultimate compliment a player can get. So we spoke to him. We spoke to Jared Hertz, who is your Gonzaga teammate. Noah Kerrigan, your oldest friend. He's a teacher. We talked to Jimmy Ballgame, Jimmy Edmonds. No, I don't need to say anything else. Scott Prather, former pitcher in the Cardinals organization, Georgia Tech stud, longtime teammate, and now a realtor down in the Atlanta area,
Mhm.
Anoka Alderati. Um, but there was one guy missing from that group that I ended up getting. And I told you that I had a surprise for you, but I already ruined it because I told you about it. But I tried in vain to get Tony La Russa to come on last time, and I couldn't get him to. And on a whim the other day, I thought, what if I just texted Tony? I've got his number. It's been a year. I'm not pestering him. And I was like, hey, Tony, did you ever listen to any of this? If so, I'm having Bo back on. Would you give a little context for if you came back for a part five? And he answered immediately, and he was like, I've listened to a little, yes. And then I said, when can we talk? And he goes, now. And I was like, oh man, right now. Okay, well here we go. And I had no questions planned, but I didn't want to, look a gift horse in the mouth. So I was like, all right, here we go. We're doing it live. So
Holy cow, Blake.
called up Tony and had a 15-minute conversation with him, and it was great. I think it'll give you a little more context on some things, although you said you kind of ran into him not that long ago and
Hmm.
had some chats with him. So, okay. Cool. We're going to get to those right before we get to the questions here. But so I got Tony La Russa on, and that was an all-time, one of the greatest managers of all time. multiple time he's a Hall of Famer, World Series champion multiple times. I don't need to go over Tony's, background. He's Tony La Russa. So that was incredible. Um, but today we're gonna talk a little bit about some reactions, kind of how you felt after we did our story, our podcast, how some people, what some feedback you got from people, and then we're gonna talk a lot about hitting. So I'm really pumped about that. So let's just take it from when we wrapped last time. Kind of how did that go for you? Did you hear from a lot of people? I mean, what were your thoughts after you finished and you were like, "Phew, okay, I just talked about my career for 10 hours with this stranger that did a deep dive on my life and went and talked to all these people." I'd love to hear kind of how that went for you.
Well, first, I got to thank you for providing this forum, this opportunity, and the prep that you did. I mean, this wasn't just a conversation about, hey, what was it like being in the big leagues? This we
No.
went all the way back, and you included people from my childhood and
Yeah.
former players and coaches and I mean, just thank you because I had a chance to listen to it, and I think you did a fantastic job setting up each session and getting some of those stories and thoughts out of me that I hadn't got out of me in a very long time or ever. And
Hmm.
so listening to it again and having other people tell me that had listened to it, it's like I've never heard that story before. Why didn't you tell me? It's like, well, we didn't sit down and take a deep dive for hours to get
Right.
into that to recall what I was feeling in those moments and things. So it was really just it was surreal to listen to myself tell stories and articulate it the way that I did, and you made it very easy and very comfortable and I mean it could not have gone any better. I don't think.
I agree. I thought it was absolutely incredible all the way through. You could see our even like friendship kind of build as it went too, as we got more comfortable with each other and hearing all those people talk about you in the way you did and kind of the unconventional way that you
Hmm.
ended up in the big leagues. I mean, that's why everyone loved you so much. You were this scrapper that wasn't supposed to make it, and you kind of defied the odds in so many ways and you had some amazing timing, and St. Louis has smart fans and they appreciate when something special is happening,
Yeah.
and I really think it's cool that you got a chance to really think about some things, because I think I look at your career and I always think like, man, it had to have been this mix of like gratitude for this incredible time that you got to be in the big leagues and make your mark, and no one had the Bohart experience, but then also like, man, you were so close to like a longer career in the big leagues, right? So, and it was cool kind of how you rode that wave too. It didn't sound like you were too high either way, and that you saw it for what it was. And yeah, I hope it gave you some peace afterwards, and maybe closing some chapters or just have a little more context on some things. But any thoughts or
No, I think it was therapeutic and
yeah,
cathartic to get all that out and to talk about things and to reflect on it and yeah, I mean it was a very positive experience and again, still I think there's unanswered questions that will never be answered, but
I
I
know,
don't
man.
I don't regret how I handled myself. I don't regret anything that I did or tried to do or you know, I don't say I tried to influence. I asked questions when I felt like I needed to
Yeah,
about my development and about opportunities and things. And I was who I was. I can't think back of who I am
yeah,
now of what I would have said because I probably would have said different things, but
yeah,
or asked different questions or tried to get a mentor and say what should I be doing. I didn't go about that. That was something that Lydia brought up was I wish you would have had a mentor like Jim or Scott and had a better relationship to that next level with them to say,
yeah,
look, I'm getting am I getting hosed here? Did I do anything wrong or what am I not doing to get another opportunity? I mean, maybe that would have been the only retrospect kind of thing I hoped I would have
yeah.
done, but it is what it is.
Interesting.
I
Yeah,
can't go back, and I'm not going to cloud all the fun and great memories that I've had and
yeah.
that I continue to get to share in these forums or just in a conversation with somebody about the time that I had. There's
Now,
I'm not
lit,
bitter. I'm not bitter. I was for a while, but I'm not anymore.
interesting. How long do you think you were bitter for, would you say?
Oh man, I would say years.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, man, what an interesting story you had, man. Lydia being your wife, you just made mention to her. Did she obviously listened to it? Did she have any more? You said she commented on you not having a mentor, but was that interesting for her too? Because probably nobody knows you better than she does. So for her to
Well,
hear some of these things, did she hear some things for the first time too?
oh yeah, oh yeah. I mean, we weren't together during that run. It was I met her when I got sent down in 2004 after 3 weeks
Right.
to start the season with the Cardinals. I get sent down, and I was just in the dumps. And a month and a half later is when I met her, and that's that's life changing. Um,
Yeah.
and in a different, in not a different direction, but the direction my life ended up going. If I was in St. Louis, I would never have met her. So I mean, that's
Yeah.
um, it's more than a silver lining.
Absolutely, right? It's interesting how things like that sync up in your life. Like one thing might seem like it's a bad thing, but it leads to a good thing, right? You never know. And you can look back and have different, how you see it differently too now. Before we get into some of the questions here, let's go ahead and run through some of these Tony clips. What do you think?
Oh, you have clips. Oh my gosh. Okay.
I got Tony clips. Yep, I got Tony clips. And it
Okay.
was, like I said, it was a fly by the seat of my pants moment. I had no questions ready for him. I was just like, okay, deep breath, Blake. You've done this before. You've talked to people. You know how to ask questions. You know how to talk baseball. So I called him, and then we were rolling. And I'm gonna let you decipher and think about it how you want. I don't want to lead you here. So first one's gonna be called uh, Tony on Bo's call up here.
Well, yeah, it's always a great quality because there are guys who end up having really good careers that when they first come
Yeah.
up, the bright lights kind of stun them, and
Right.
it takes them a while to relax and start showing what they could do.
Uh-huh.
And that wasn't the case with Bo. I mean, he came right away, and he had confidence that he could show his game, and he was going to make a difference. And a lot of it was his aggressiveness.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, we were in the midst of trying to win, so it was
Sure.
very important to us.
You can hear that, right?
Yep.
Okay. Do you have any comments on that? You want me to go to the next one?
Um, no, I feel like the aggressiveness is going to come back to haunt me though. That's what I feel like. Unless you didn't get to it, but I was aggressive
Yeah.
and as a hitter, I was. Um, I later try to hone that in to be aggressive at the right time,
Yeah.
not just aggressive in general. And I learned that from Tony with
Right.
some game type situations, which I still teach now, which is really good
Cool.
to make kids aware, especially in high school. Like right now, I'm not teaching kids at this level with the 10-year-old, 9 and 10-year-olds. But in high school, I remember teaching some things um, about when to be aggressive and when to be patient. So it's great he said that because that was very true to my detriment.
Absolutely. All right, the next one, Bo filled all the boxes. Here you go.
And from what I've read a bunch of articles about you speaking on Bo Hart. It sounds like you were really rooting for him, like maybe more so than some other guys. Like you really were kind of fond of him. Can you speak to that at all?
Well, only because a teammate, you're fond of the teammate, but what you look for is the teammate that fills all the boxes. And
Yep.
if they don't fit, unless they fill most of them, they're not going to be on your team. But
Right.
somebody fills them all, and by that I mean some of what I said at the beginning. This is a competitive business. This is not golf or tennis. You're playing as part of a team. You got to understand the team concept. You got to
Yep.
understand there's a score, there's a winner and a loser. So you need somebody that understands it's not, you're not showcasing talents. You're trying to play and execute to win. So that was
Yep.
Bo. And
Yeah.
then that his skills are going to play because in baseball, the more you execute, better chance you got to win. So if you have a play to make and you can make a play, you can be really sensational and cover more ground or have a stronger arm. But if you mess up the routine plays, you don't win. And in
Yeah.
Bo's case, he was going to put the ball in play, he was going to make the routine play, and he was going to compete and do what he could for a team. So,
Hmm.
whenever I had some guys like that, all our team, we pull for guys like that, and
Yeah.
if a guy was not checking the boxes, then we made sure sooner or later they did it, they were gone.
Yeah.
What you got?
I'm glad he saw it that way, right?
Yeah.
I'm glad he saw it that way. And I can remember some of the highlights, um, and I don't know if and the announcers were speaking, um, that and whether they did some research on that and asked questions, or that was just off the cuff during a game. But I think that I was making some plays defensively that they did not think that I was capable of. At least, doing it more often, or more than once a month or something like that. Like I was making them quite often during the few months that I was playing.
Not only were you making the routines though, but you were making the web gems. I mean, you were known for these spectacular layouts too. So I thought that was
Right,
interesting as well.
right. So, but again, I was always fundamentally sound. I was gonna
Yeah.
catch the
Make the
routine
plays.
ball, and a big league routine baseball or a ground ball or a double play or whatever, or a relay is not just the ones that are right at you. It's the ones that
Right.
need and should be made by every player, not just the great plays. So, I made 4 errors. I believe I made 4 errors in those however many games I played, 77 games. And 2 of them were the same type of play, which was to my right. And I just didn't get in front of it quick enough or rely on the backhand for that particular play. And I came up too quickly and the ball went between my legs. I did that twice. I can't remember the other 2. I think one was a throwing error and then probably some other, just, kind of missed the ball. But I think defensively, I think defensively was what kept me there longer. Offensively, yes, that was happening at the beginning, and things started to slow down. But I think defensively and checking all the boxes that Tony said, making the defensive plays, the routine plays, or you're out of here. I think being fundamentally sound, being a tough out at the plate, and making those routine plays kept me there longer.
I love that. The next one I have here is Tony on STL, St. Louis embracing you. And here we go. You ready? All right.
I think, yeah, I can. I mean, fans of take players with the Cardinals on the uniform, the bats, birds on the bat. They take them very personal. I mean, that's a family. So when you see a family member come up, especially one like Bo, who's he isn't the tallest guy around or the strongest guy around, and you see he's kind of infectious when he plays. He plays with a smile, and I think right away that appeals to him. But in the end, if you can be smiling and trying hard, but unless you produce, you're not going to have that kind of response. And his productivity compared and with his personality, man, that was a can't miss.
Oh,
I love how he put that. One thing I wanted to note on that is I remember, I think I remember is you saying that you regretted that you didn't smile more when you were up. Did you say that, or did I remember that right?
No, I did say that. I think it's because of just from from what I saw on the highlights that I have to cherish.
Looking serious.
I did not smile very often. I think I was more jovial and having a great time, other than when I was at bat and on the bases, because that's all I really saw, right? And in the 46-minute highlight reel that I have, there aren't a lot of smiles, and that's really why I said that. Now I can't remember. I mean, I was having a great time.
Sure,
Believe me,
absolutely.
Time of your
life.
I was having a good time, and so hopefully, I mean, I'm glad he said that because
Yeah, obviously Tony saw you as this like smiling, positive little sunshine ball.
Right. Well, that's what I am
Yeah.
deep down.
Yeah.
But to from what I've seen of myself, that's where that comment from. I wish I had seen myself smile more. But I'm glad that he mentioned that. That's good.
Absolutely. Next one, Tony. It's painful.
now was that from what I read too? It almost sounded like it was a little painful for you to send him down and not give him more of a shot. Is that accurate at all? or is that just what, from what
Well,
I read?
you got to be careful about that saying. He got his shot. It's painful to tell a guy that gives you all he has and has proven he can be helpful that this is not going to work. It's probably the least enjoyable part of a manager's job. Now, if he was kind of a jerk or if he hadn't played well, not like you say goodbye without, but you don't have the same kind of emotional kind of connection, attachment. But it wasn't an easy decision. But at the end, you're responsible to take the best shot. And as a staff, including our front office, we felt like Tony had an edge.
Like we talked about before, I'm so glad you captured that from him, because we talked about before, with them bringing in Tony Womack, and I guess from the spring training that I was having, right? To bring in him was the right decision. I mean, look what happened. They went to the World Series with Tony being their second baseman. So credit to them for making that decision. Now, would that have been different? Maybe. A different result? Probably not. But would they have got there with me or with me supporting Tony Womack? But again, we touched on that, I think, a little bit in our talks. It's like they had to make a decision that was best for the team. And I'm glad you said that, you phrased it that way. It's like, was that hard? He's like, well, yeah, it is hard. Especially because I had produced and because, personality and I had given it everything that I had. So I'm glad you captured that.
Absolutely. And like, let's not let it be lost too that, Tony took time out of his day to address, to come on this podcast to talk about you. So I think that speaks to how he saw you too, in a warm way. That must have been tough. Of course, it's tough to be a manager and have to tell someone, hey, your dream is not going to work out how you thought it was going to work out. Bud, like we got to win, and we're sorry, but we see it a little different. Tony is famous for wanting to have versatility of a switch hitter, which you even tried to do, which was nuts. You tried to do as a late 20s guy, had never hit lefty before, but you were willing to do it. I think that speaks volumes about you as a person, that you didn't think that was, well, maybe you did think it was preposterous, but you still did it. You tried it.
I did.
Yeah. And I don't know. Did that clip mean anything to you, or you already kind of thought along those lines that maybe Tony was thinking that way? Or
no, I mean the clip itself is that's validation of what I think I've been thinking about. The last 20 years.
Right.
But no, it's again maybe that does answer some questions a little bit that have been gone unanswered, and but I think he did give me every chance. I mean, it was his idea to hit left-handed, and of course, being me wanting to do everything I could and everything I was asked to do, I tried it for months. So it was at least.
Well, let me ask you a question. How proficient did you get with that lefty swing? Like, do you think you could have excelled in college or high school, or would it have been a struggle?
Well, I was 29 when he asked me, so very different from when I was 18 or 20 years old. I was doing okay, but again, it feels so awkward.
Yeah.
Like maybe the mechanics are good, or would eventually get good enough to put the ball in play with any type of consistency, but the major league competition, I mean,
right. To try to do it against the best in the world.
Give me a break. Yeah, that was going to take a long time to feel any confidence.
Okay. Right. Okay. Well then, I've got one more Tony. It's more on Bo, and then this is the last of our Tony clips here.
Cool.
I remember Steve Hurts, his college coach, said that Bo celebrates the game. That's how he plays it. And I thought that was just an incredible way to say how kind of encompass Bo Hart. But before I let you go here, and thank you so much again, do you have anything that you would like to say about Bo before I let you go, or say to Bo, because he's going to hear all this?
I think that the coach who used that word, I've never used that before, heard it before, and I think that that's a really smart way to capitalize what Bo brought to the team.
Yeah.
He celebrated the game. So, that's infectious. You get a guy that is playing for the love of it, and the love of being part of a team, part of contributing. I mean, that's those are qualities that if you add that the talent that you have, then you become a very important very popular member of the team, and I thought that, like I said, there wasn't a box that Bo didn't check as far as being a winning championship kind of player.
Yeah.
But at some point, somebody was a really good first baseman. Howard Pujols was better than he was. I mean, you got to make that decision.
I know.
That's great. No, that's good. Thank you for doing that and just going out on a whim to reach out to him again. I really do appreciate that. That's it's
And
really good. I'm gonna.
Tony, if you're listening, thank you for being a part of this, man. We really appreciate that. That meant a lot to me. It meant a lot to Bo, and I think it's really cool. And also, Bo, on a little side note here, I just want to say thank you to you a year ago for taking a chance and saying yes to coming on the podcast, because I know it's got to be a little weird. Just some stranger says, "Hey, I really want to do a deep dive into your career," and I'm not talking a little deep dive. I'm talking like I want to talk to your childhood friends, like that kind of stuff, and that you agreed to do it. And then, I mean, it went beautifully, but it's really added a lot of validity to what I'm doing. And when I'm reaching out to new people and I say, I know I did this person, this person, this person, this person. These people are in my contacts now. It gives validity to what I'm doing. So just thank you for that too, man. It meant a lot to me.
Well, you're welcome. And to touch on just on this Tony thing here to kind of wrap it up. Thank you, Tony, if you are listening. That's kind words and great things that I think I've needed to hear for a long time, and I appreciate that. I really do. So the interaction that I had with him not too long ago, this summer, was the 20-year anniversary of the 2004 National League Championship team. And so I got invited to go to St. Louis, and I want to say pretty much everybody was there from the team, and it was great. And a lot of familiar faces and high fives and pictures and things, and it was awesome. So Tony was there, and he said a couple really, really nice things. And one funny thing he said was, and I forget what the context was, or we were in the dugout, and he just said, he's like, the best hit and run execution I've ever seen was Bo. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah. He's like, do you remember? I said, are you kidding? Of course I remember. Kerry Robinson was on first, and I was playing. We were playing against the Cubs, and it was Kerry Wood that was pitching, who was just nasty, and
that was his heyday too, like just filthy.
It
Kid
really
K.
was. And so it was a day game, and I don't know where we were in the lineup, whether Kerry was number 1 or 2, or he was 9 and I was 1 in the lineup, or 8-9 or whatever. But he called a hit and run, and it was a curveball, and that was like, curveball. Yeah, I think it was a curveball or a slider, but curveball, and it was like literally at my neck when it got to the plate. Like, it was just high, and it was a ball. And then you see me like literally tomahawk the barrel like almost above my head and put the ball in play right where it needed to be, in between first and second, as the second baseman vacates to cover for the steal, because Kerry was stealing. Like, I literally just hit it right where he had left, as we have been taught to do since high school. Hit behind the runner, and the ball went into right field, and Kerry went from second, went to third, and now it's first and third and 1 out or no outs or whatever. So he told that story to a handful of people that were standing there next to us, and that was just awesome to hear him talk about that. Like, and then I think he was surprised that I remembered. I was like, of course I remember, right? That situation. So that was a great compliment. And then the other thing was, the game had started after the on-field ceremonies and things, and running out and waving to the crowd and all that stuff, and my family. That was awesome to have them there. So we were kind of, everybody's kind of mingling around, watching the game. It's middle of the game. We're in one of the suites, and Tony is sitting over there to the side. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to take this opportunity to go talk to him. And I think 15 years ago, I would have gone over there and said, Tony, why did I not play anymore? I've always wanted to know, right?
Right. Tell me.
He did not do that. So the more mature, grounded self that I am now, I went up to him and I said, Tony, I have to. I've never told you this, and I have to tell you that I want to thank you for my opportunity to play at the major league level.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he was taken back a little bit because he paused for a second, and he's like, and he said something I'll never forget. He said, Bo, you earned every opportunity that you got before and after you got called up. You earned every opportunity, and you deserve the success that you had. And I was like, thank you. Thank you for saying that, because I was grateful for my opportunity. And now, no matter how long it was, I'm grateful, and I just wanted to say thank you. And he's like, you earned every second.
That's cool.
And that was really cool. And closing, it was good closure
Yeah.
for me, not only just that weekend and seeing him there, but just as far as our, the like I said, the unanswered questions that I had, and
Yeah.
it was just really nice. And I went to tell Lydia, because she was there, and she's like, oh my gosh, that's so great that you said that, and talked to him for a few minutes, and and then you getting a chance to talk to him and sharing the clips that you had just moments ago. It
That's cool.
just I can take a deep breath now,
There we go. Awesome. Well, Tony La Russa. Thanks, man. That's awesome. Um, I think it's about time to start getting into our questions then. We've been chopping it up. You need time? Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Okay, we are back. We took a little short break to kind of figure out how we're going to spend the rest of our time here. Bo does have a job. He can't just sit here and talk baseball with me all day, although he wish he could.
Yes, I do.
Um, yeah, all right, man. So we're gonna get into some interesting stuff here. One of the reasons I wanted to bring you on, not only did I want to hear kind of how you felt about your podcast after it finished, but you've managed to stay involved in baseball for a long time, both as a hitting coach, and now you've got your own hitting um, thing. You got 31 hitting, like your own, yes, as a hitting coach. Is that what you would call that? Your own business,
I
essentially?
mean, yeah, I mean, it's turned into a little bit of a side hustle, yeah, but it
Yeah.
is definitely evolved from where it started and to where it is now over the last couple of years, yeah.
So let's start with the assistant coaching stuff. You were doing it. Are you still an assistant coach in high school, or have you stepped back from that?
No, I stepped back, not last season, but the season before.
Okay.
Um, 14 years as the hitting coach at a local high school. As I started to have a family, that time was not going to be equal to
Right.
where I needed to be and where I wanted to be. So over time, and having Cruz, and then having Brock as he started to get older, that's where the time suck really
Yeah.
started to be felt, not only from me but from my wife, and it just evolved into I need to be spending more time as my
Yeah.
boys develop and start to play than teaching, or than the amount of time for practices and games that a high school requires. It just turned into something that was unmanageable.
I totally get that. Especially with young ones myself. How did you end up hooking up with this high school? Like, did you know someone there, or what? I'd love to hear the kind of path
Yeah,
that it took for you.
so when I retired, I wanted to still do something with baseball, whether it was lessons or whatever, and this is in 2008, right? So I think I randomly got connected with a guy named Chris Stewart, who actually was a former Cardinal as well, and his dad, which is amazing. They live in Memphis here. And I got a chance to meet with him, and he said, actually, I'm the pitching coach at this school at MUS. And he's like, we're looking for a hitting coach. And I said, right here. And so it just kind of naturally happened where right place, right time, and I had interest and I had time to do it. The
Hmm.
school literally was, a quarter mile from where I was working, and so it was just really easy. It was really
Yeah.
convenient,
Good
and
fit.
yeah. So he introduced me to the head coach. I interviewed for the job, got the job, and it was awesome. I really really liked it. We had some good players, and I was able to kind of start to. It wasn't intentional, but it just started a hitting philosophy, right?
Mm,
It started a what is necessary for a baseball swing? What is necessary at this level? Like, who
yeah,
can I teach this to, and who is going to max out with this type of skill or this type of technique, that type of or understanding and
yeah,
application of the things that are needed for a consistent, baseball swing.
yeah,
And so it just evolved over time. But I just really enjoyed being, putting baseball pants on and a uniform and helping
yeah,
these young kids. And we started to win. And I mean, the first, yeah, it was just being around the kids and them just absorbing the information and wanting to learn. Those first several years were just had a great group of kids and a head coach that said, just do whatever you want. You know. So
right. Give you the freedom.
yes, you have a blank check to just teach them whatever, and infield and game situations and things and all that thing. It was the first, 5 or 6 years were awesome.
Yeah. And then that was obviously scratching your itch to stay in the game. And then eventually, like you said, time constraints, young children, it doesn't really math anymore. But to scratch that itch about, still being involved with when hitting and your passion for hitting, you started, I mean, you got a cage in your backyard, right? Is that where the bulk of 31 hitting takes place, or am I
Oh, that's
off
where
on that?
all of it does. Yeah, and that cage has been there for about 3.5 years, 3 years. Um, and again, the time that my boys started to need. Cruz is 10 and Brock is 6. Cruz started when he was doing t-ball at 5, and so did Brock. So, you know, when he was like maybe 2 or 3, it wasn't like I was coaching him, on his team or anything. I was just in the backyard and having that free time to help coach Cruz's teams, and to be around for all of those. And then as Brock started to get older and started to play, that's when I was like, you know what, I gotta be here 100% of the time. And so,
Yeah.
but putting the cage in really was just, I mean, I wanted them to have a place to go hit in the backyard, and MUS is actually, they gave me the turf. Like, I have a great
Cool.
relationship with that school. They gave me the turf that I laid down, to hit on, and
Yeah.
they got a new field, so I got some of the scraps.
Oh, cool.
And so that's what I ended up putting under the cage, but. Um, it made perfect sense to have that. I had a perfect spot in the corner.
Yeah.
It's 35 feet by 10 feet, and it's turfed. I got lights, and um, I built a little seating area for the parents. And Lydia
Yeah.
found old AutoZone Park, like actual seats from the
Oh,
stadium
cool.
that they sold years ago. She found
Yeah.
some on online on eBay or whatever, and we went and picked them up, and I installed them against my fence and built like a little deck, like a little platform for
Yeah.
them to be on, and parents and little brothers and sisters to sit and watch. I mean, it's a great setup. It really is.
Yeah. It looks like a really cool place. And you just had a contest online. You had some cool baseball structure looking thing. It ended up being named the Iron Man. It's really cool. It's like a baseball metal. I don't know how to explain it, but someone did some really cool metal working and made this baseball player.
Yeah, it's a statue. It's like 2.5 feet tall, 2 feet tall. My neighbor,
Yeah.
who just tinkers on everything, um, he has a welding station in his garage, and just ended up with some scrap metal making this little baseball stance guy
It's
out
very
of
cool.
metal, and it's really kind of cool. It looks awesome. And
Yeah.
so it was Lydia's idea to just kind of throw that out there on Instagram to get some engagement and to
Yeah.
name this guy who's plopped down there right next to the cage.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, the Iron Man Ripken and Jeff Murphy, who was the bullpen catcher for the Cardinals when I was there, ended up winning that competition. So it's
Oh,
great.
that's really cool. And I actually texted you about it. So I don't know if you guys remembered, but I mean, my son's name is Bodie, partly because of this man right here. I just loved his spirit, And then my son's middle name is Ripken. So
That's
there's just so many really weird things between you and I that it feels like I don't mean to be woo woo, but I feel like you and I were always going to meet on for some reason, and we did. But yeah, but my son's middle name is Ripken too, so I was like, wow, another really cool thing. But it looks like
really,
a really cool spot back there, and
yeah.
like how many hitters would you say you have, and what's kind of the age range that do you specialize, or do you do them all, or?
Yeah, I've had a couple guys, I think I thrive in the impact that I make on the, literally probably the 8 to 11 or 12 year old.
Right.
And I've had as young as 6, but that's really, I mean, it's hard to pay to I don't want to say pay, but to have me teach a 6 year old. Like they have more, they need to do a lot more before then I can get more things out of them, right? I'm not there to
Mm.
teach them how to hold the bat properly and to like, oh, stand over here. And even though that's part of, the foundations and fundamentals of hitting, but it is the 6 year olds is really young for anybody to really get any lessons, to be honest.
Hmm.
But starting at around 7, my youngest is 6, Brock, and that's probably the age to start. But that 9, 10, 11 is the sweet spot. That's, I think, when kids are really impressionable. They if they have some skills to build on, it's awesome, and you just kind of fine tune what you're helping them understand of what the swing needs to be. And if you can get really good early habits at this age, then it's just going to become awesome when they approach high
Exactly.
school.
Yeah.
Instead of some of the um, instead of some of the non-coaching experiences they get. I go to the field all the time with my kids and on their teams, and you just see these kids with these swings, and you're like, oh my gosh, no one's helping them,
Yeah.
right? You can tell no one is helping them remember what is important. And it's not anybody's fault. It's not a dad's fault. It's not the coach's fault. It's just like they just don't know what to teach or how to teach little kids, right? And I'm not some guru. I'm not, but I feel like I do make a really positive impact, and that's why these families keep coming back and back. And I get text every weekend during the season. You would not believe the hit that
It's cool.
Timmy got, and it's so great. We'll tell you at our lesson next week. Like I get those, and I get videos, and it is very rewarding. It just
Yeah.
happened last night. I had one kid who's been coming to me for a while, and actually his name is Lucas. He was the kid who started this whole thing, right? I told that story of of kind of how it kind of organically started with lessons, because I didn't intend to do that when I put the cage in, but it was him. I mean, I get a text over the weekend, and it was second and third, and Lucas hits, it's like full count, and hits this opposite field double into the gap, and scores the runs, ties the game, and then they end up winning it later. Like that was the text I got, and then he got to tell me that story, and he just like lit up when he's telling me, and those are the things that are just make it awesome.
Absolutely. I'm a little fuzzy on this. So you put the cage in for your kids essentially, and then it became, oh, I can, it's in my backyard. I can do some lessons here. I'm not leaving my family. I'm still like around. It just kind of organically happened.
That's exactly right. Yep.
Beautiful, man. And then just word of mouth between like some baseball people that you knew. It was like one lesson led to another lesson, led to another, led to another. Is that?
That's exactly. It started with just a one or two kids, and then it got to a couple others, and then it got to some other parents, and then
Mhm.
it just snowballed. I don't say it's snowballed because I kept it really small. I didn't want to. This isn't my job, so I
Right.
wanted to. I kept it small. I didn't really Instagram or advertise. That was not the goal. It was like, let me just
Right.
help. And then it turned into me wanting to help develop the league that my kids are playing in. That's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Um, and that's where I spend a lot of my time, because every time they're on a team, I am the hitting guy for the whole team, right? And so
Yeah.
I break things down for each of those kids during practices, and help them kind of understand what needs to be done throughout that season. We're limited because we practice one time a week, and
Yeah.
but some lessons have come out of that, like, hey, like a dad or a mom is like, hey, I heard you give hitting lessons, and I mean, it happens. I think last winter my list of clients is over 50 now,
Wow.
and it's not every week, but I've had
Yeah.
50 families come and go in 3 month increments,
Sure.
so to speak. And I have a core of about 10 that come, you know, 8 out of 9 weeks, and you can just see how consistent they have become, and their coaches, give them accolades. And I mean, I've had a coach of one of these kids call me and go, "Hey, can my kid come get lessons from you?" It's like, and again, there's some secret sauce to it, but it's not. Yes, there are fundamentals of the swing, but it's not like the old school Chicago White Sox where it was the same exact swing for everybody. If you remember that famous kind of finish they all had, I can't remember
Charlie
the name.
Lau swing.
There
Yep.
you go. Thank you. I couldn't remember the name. It
Yep.
was. Um, it's not like that. I'm taking the kid what they have and bringing the best out in them to be themselves.
Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah. Um, man, yeah, it's just, and I know you said like this isn't like your main gig, right, obviously, but you do have you're starting to get a little bit of an online presence. Like you can go, there's a Facebook page now, 31 hitting, Bohart 31 hitting. There's an Instagram page. And funny, I remember when I came across your hitting page because I was so proud of myself for how much effort it took to get a hold of you in the first place. And then there's your email right there on the page, right there on the Facebook page. So
Yeah. Well,
anyway, it's cool.
you can thank my wife who has learned how Facebook works and Instagram for her own home business,
Yeah,
um, to help me kind of connect all those accounts, and everything that you post on one goes to all of them. and
right.
and she's the one that encourages me to do it. And the next thing that she's encouraging me to do is to do little hitting tips of the week kind of things,
Cool.
and just to do
Okay.
like a little video, and to have like 10 of them that just kind of rotate.
I like
Maybe a
that.
little bit of an infielding thing. But again, it's not like I'm trying to, like hold on to the secret sauce or anything. But I do, I do want to share it, right? But I'm not trying to get hits. I'm not trying to make money off of Instagram. I ultimately want to share, you know, the the evolution of becoming a hitter,
Yeah.
with each kid. But I think I'm gonna start doing that. To be honest, I want to, not a teaser, right? Because I don't want people like, hey, all right, call me for a lesson. I don't want to do
Yeah.
that. I want to say, hey, here's something to think about when you're out there practicing. Here's something to think about, or here's what I'm thinking in this with this particular movement. And I think that once the weather, I mean, it's raining outside, but like once the weather gets more springy, more spring-like, well, I'm gonna put a series of kind of things out there just so that other people can, if they follow it or somebody sends it to them, it's like, oh, okay, that's something that I can do, whatever, something like that.
I love that, man. I love that you're still in the game and you're still scratching that itch. And
Yeah,
really cool what you said too about it not being cookie cutter, not just being like, this is the one way to swing, and if you're not swinging this way, you're wrong. You're trying to bring out the best attributes of what a hitter has, work with what they have. And I think that's
yeah.
the
I mean,
mark of a good hitting coach.
there are things that need to be done consistently with everybody,
Sure.
but
Absolutely.
I'm not gonna make like a carbon copy of somebody or me, or like it's me. I'm not the
Right.
the perfect hitter, um,
Right.
but there are things that have to be done consistently to increase. And I tell parents this all the time, and kids. I was like, I cannot get hits for you. You cannot control what happens after you hit the ball. But all I can do as a hitting coach is help you develop. And year over year, if you have more line drives this year than you did last year, then great. But all I can do is help you work towards the more solid contact, um, than you had the year before. And all we can do is prepare for that. That's all we can do, and to do it more often, to make solid contact more often, year over year. That's all I can do as a hitting coach, because
Yeah.
ultimately it's up to them when they're in the game to rely on the good habits that we've created.
Love that. We've got a short amount of time here left. I've got an idea. What would you think of critiquing your own swing right now as the final thing we do
Ooh.
before you go?
Okay. Okay. Sure.
Are you into it?
Hmm.
So there's not much of your swing online. What I did was I found a small highlight, I clipped it, I put it in slow-mo, I put it on YouTube, and I sent it to you. Can you
Yep.
pull it up?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, got it.
Got it?
Yep.
Okay. So what I'd love to do is hear your thoughts on it, and then if we've got a little bit of time, I'll give my thoughts. If we don't have time, then I will give my thoughts the next time we go around. But I'd love to hear what your thoughts are here. It's a front-facing view. It's of the, from the outfield, from the pitcher's point of view. What you got? What, do
Well, I want to hear
yeah,
what you think first because then that's
see.
easier for me to adjust. So, what do you see?
Oh, well, this is fun then. Cool.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that. So wild card here. So here's what I see. I see looks like you're starting at about a 70-30, with some weight kind of on your backside into your back hip here. You look very square towards the pitcher.
Hmm.
A very classic stance where you're holding your hands around your shoulder. I see a little bit of a bat waggle, but mainly kind of a vertical barrel here. And then interesting here when you get into your move. So there we go. And you can't see what I see, but what I'm looking at is you kind of lift your front leg here, and you're not really gaining. You're not going forward. Essentially, you pick it up. It looks like your back hip is kind of rotating towards the pitcher, so you're getting into that back hip and you kind of put your foot back down, like you're not gaining ground, but you're still getting the slack out. So foot up, kind of hover, baby leg kick, put it
That's
back
a really
down. It looks like you're getting some separation between upper and lower. I'm seeing that jersey crease right under your three. Your hands are pulling back. What I think is cool is I see a barrel tip. And that's become very in vogue these days, but I think you were probably doing this innately, and that kind of gives what I think I know. It gives the barrel kind of a head start, a running start where it flattens out or starts moving rearward. But I see a nice blur here, blurring backwards, flattening out behind you. You're getting on plane here. You get into a stiff front leg, your front elbow is slightly working up. It looks like this was slightly out front. Is that going to be right?
a little bit, yeah, for this
Okay.
particular swing, just a little bit, but you can see how I do stay back at impact.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, it was a slider, so it's not a fastball,
Interesting.
you
Okay,
know.
slider. So head stays on it the entire time from when you initiate your load. Like there's almost no movement, so that's cool.
Hmm.
Looks like you're working slightly under the ball from what I see, and nice little kick there with your back foot. That's me trying to run through it fast. What you
Yeah.
got?
No, I think that's pretty good. I think the good observation of that 70-30, and I was I had to stay back because
Hmm.
if I come forward at all, I'm gonna lose what little power I had.
Right. Okay.
Right? And again, that's something that is taught, is to stay back, and it's a really challenge for a lot of kids to stay back because they feel like they have to lunge at the ball to hit it harder. That's what I'm learning at the young ages. So, but and we'll get into this again, but the power comes from the weight staying back on your backside and the rotation into the ball, right? So, but it's I was a little bit out front, but you can see the hands do stay back, and the majority of my weight does stay back, so that you can stay level. And that ball is slightly away, even though I pulled it like maybe
Right.
not. It's not even left center. It's not center. It's not left center. It's like more closer to center field is where the ball ended up going. But I am so big on bat path like
Right.
that. That's what allows you to be a little early or a little
Hmm.
late is the bat path through the zone. And I got lucky that I was able to swing flat through the ball without losing my power and stay through it and then drive that hip. You can see like that back foot. It doesn't come off the ground, but you can see there's that little push back there. Um, and as long as you can keep your weight back, as I watch this video again, as long as you can keep your weight back for the most part and really plant that foot down and boom, and stay extended through the ball before you roll your wrist. That's
Yeah.
what keeps the bat on plane because our eyes, are seeing the ball come wherever it's coming from, whatever pitch it is, and it's putting our barrel where it needs to be and where our hands need to be. Now, if we extend too early, and we'll get into this too, if you extend too early, you roll over, right? You have to
Right.
extend through the ball, and that's what I do here. Is you have to extend through the ball to keep that bat on plane where your eyes have told it where it needs to be because of the
Yeah.
pitch that's coming. if you stay through it, then that increases the chance of a line drive because you really, your brain is telling you this is where the ball's going to be, instead of screwing that up with our hands. Let's just let our eyes show us where we're going. As long as we stay through it, we can, be successful. But something you pointed out that I didn't really, never, I don't think really talked about or thought of. My weight is so far back to start. That's why I don't have to load. I
Yeah.
just pick my foot up,
Pick it up.
put it
Yeah.
back down again
Hmm.
because I'm already back enough,
Yeah.
right?
You are.
I don't teach that, but I see that here and I've seen that before. Like there were some other highlights that I've watched where I'm like really back there because I
Yeah.
struggled. I struggled in college keeping my weight or getting my weight back there enough. And
Yeah.
so it's amazing that we're just talking about that one swing there. But yeah, you stay back and you just keep that level plane through the zone with the bat. You can have success. This pitch is slightly away, and it was a slider, and I was a little out front, but I never really got out front. I stayed back and extended through it, and I mean, it's a grand slam. This is a Fox Saturday game. Tim McCarver and Joe Buck are calling this game, and this is the
Time,
one.
baby.
This is the one that you end up pulling off
Yeah.
the interwebs. It's pretty amazing that ended up happening at Shea Stadium in 2003.
So cool, right? And
Yeah.
so what you're saying is, if I can give you a couple more minutes, you would preset kind of into your backside a little more into your hit because that was an issue for you, but you wouldn't necessarily make every hitter do that. Is that what you're
No,
saying?
no, no, no,
Gotcha.
no. It's important to stay back,
Yeah.
and when that
That
foot
worked
gets
for you.
down, yes, fundamentally, you want to stay back, and when your foot hits the ground, your weight stops going forward, right? You
Right.
load,
Yep.
as you watch
Hmm.
me on our camera here, you load, you get that foot down, and you stop, and then now we turn.
Now it's rotation time. Yeah.
We can't continue to go forward, and that's what the lunge is called. Um,
Drifting. Yeah, for sure.
all that weight has to stay above or on your backside as you turn,
Yeah.
to maintain that power, and then you get the whip with your hands through the zone. You can't do that if you're lunging at the ball. And a lot of
Yeah.
your questions there, we are going to talk about, that the fundamentals of staying back and using your hands and driving your hips and all those things. But yeah, no, it's fun to. I've never broke down my swing before, so I think it was pretty fundamental.
Absolutely.
This one may have just got the job done, as we talked about when you text that to me. I don't have another one really, but I have pictures. I have a picture on my wall here,
Yeah.
of a 4-shot sequence of my stance, that little kind of tick that you saw, right?
Yep.
My contact, where I have stiff front leg and everything is fundamental as you could see, and then the finish as I leave the box.
Yeah.
I sent you one picture of that 4-part picture thing. That's what I try to teach is that contact extension through the zone, staying through it as long or longer than you think you have to. These are the things that I tell all my kids. I don't hear very many on Instagram because I watch Instagram occasionally on my feed where it's like all these hitting gurus. I watch them to learn kind of what they're trying to teach and whether it's correct or not. There's no judgment, but there's only been like one or two other that I've heard them talk about extension, and that is the secret sauce to hitting, is extending through the ball with your wrist. It is other than hitting the ball itself. That is the most important thing to hitting, and maybe next time I'll tell you who I learned that from.
Man, you're getting me all excited. Now you got to go, and we're just getting into some really fun hitting talk here. And like from what I've seen out there, you hit all the checkpoints that the greats get to. And like, there's not a lot of video of you, but there are pictures of you at certain points in your swing. And all the great hitters get to certain checkpoints that are very similar. So I think that's what you're saying as well. And I see a lot of that in your swing as well. But well, Bo, I guess I got to let you go here, man. I hate to do it, but
I got to get
um,
back to work, unfortunately, but
yeah,
something just hit my inbox and it was good timing. But this is going to be really good, Blake, because
yeah, I'm
I
excited.
want to get this down. And again, I have you to thank for creating this forum and being as persistent as you are. and as research driven as you are, because
Yep,
this is going to be a really good thing that
I
I
agree.
might have to purchase the rights from so that I can take it away and do something with. But I can't wait to get into the nuts and bolts for sure.
Me too, brother. I've got about 75 questions for this man. It's all hitting. It's going to be amazing. So we'll set it up here in the next week or two, hopefully. This is this guy's busy season right now. I'm appreciative of you giving me a little bit of time. So all right, post game spread. I'm Blake Helm as always. This is Bo Hart back for part five. I guess there's going to be a part six now. So here we go. All right, we are out of here. Thanks, Bo.
Thanks, Blake.
Appreciate you.